Hey, Magic fans, welcome back. This is your captain speak here on Capnclydes MTG. We're finally back. I've made it to South Carolina. No, I ain't got my whole thing set up yet, but we got enough. We can start shooting some videos until we get moved into the new place. Uh, but anyway, so without further ado, let's talk about some great things that have been happening. Well, I won't call them great things, but let's talk about some great news that's been going down, along with other things, previews and what have you, that happened during my travels. So don't forget, comment, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Um, It helps keeps us channel sponsor free. Links in the description to other ways to support. Subscription is free. Check us out on Rumble. All that good jazz. And I mean, do you really want me to talk about meal prep? I mean, I heard so much advertisement on the way over here on the radio that I'm about ready to just blow my brains out. So, with all that said, Hasbro laying off Wizards of the Coast staff is baffling and could lead to a brain drain. So, they talked here about Hasbro laying off Wizards of the Coast staff. This has been some big news. So, on here it says that this Monday or last Monday that they would eliminate an additional 1,100 workers throughout global operations as part of Chris Cox, the CEO. His last name is exactly what he is. Called for strategic transformation. Also known as us guys at the top have fucked things up because we wanted to milk money, so we're going to punish all the people at the lower end of the spectrum who actually do the work by just firing them. So, as has been the case for the last couple of years, Hasbro's gaming endeavors, led by Wizards of the Coast, have been the only consistent profitable part of the company. In the most recent earnings report, Hasbro wrote that its toy and entertainment segments are both losing money, while its gaming segment's revenue grew by 40% in Q3 of 2023. So what does that mean? So basically, Wizards of the Coast is propping up Hasbro. We've talked about it a lot. We've seen it. We've speculated on it. Um, Actual board games and other things that Hasbro's been making are just losing money left and right. And the reason for that is they're board games. You buy them once and they're done. You have to keep making new product for board games for people to buy. And if they don't want to buy it, then you've just lost money because, well, nobody's going to buy it and you spend a bunch of money to make it. They've tried, well, they have pushed that in the Wizards of the Coast arena by the whole game piece area. And because of that, now profits are starting to dip in Wizards of the Coast because they're using their piss poor strategy of how to run a board game company, which is costing them millions, and destroying a good company, which is a collectible card game, which is Wizards. So there we have it. Now, with all that being said, it says here, despite the success, reports this week indicate that at least 20 employees of Wizards of the Coast and its subsidiaries have been laid off. Those affected, as per the list assembled by comicbook.com's Mr. Hoffer, include Mike Merles, Magic the Gathering director and former Dungeons and Dragons creator, Amy Dallin, D&D Beyond host and producer, Ethan, I guess, Barnstein, sorry if I butchered that, D&D senior develop editor, Larry Frum, senior communications manager, Bree Hess, D&D art director. Some employees also opted, according to the internal memo from Cox, to voluntarily accept early retirements. So, at this time of writing, it's unclear why Hasbro has chosen to lay off employees at the single strongest company in its portfolio. This year, Wizards debuted a critically, if not commercially successful major motion picture, earned Game of the Year trophy at 2023. But Hasbro still sacking its employees is really weird. So why would you do this? So this talk has come up again, that people think that they are thinking of selling off some, if not all, of Wizards of the Coast to make a large financial gain. And to do that, they're trimming the fat, or what they think is fat. A lot of the D&D people getting laid off, I think, is happening for several reasons. One, Hasbro's realized that there is no point to, well, for one, they tried to, in D&D this last year, make it so that you could not make content. They did that whole, was it OGL remodel or whatever. And then what happened was everybody stopped subscribing. People backlashed. They lost millions of dollars in subscriptions to D&D. And this is just exactly what happens when you say we are going to charge for everything, um, because we want more money and we're greedy instead of improving what we have, and make small gains in our market shares by making improvements that people want and are willing to pay for. And because of that, they've drove people away from D&D into places like Pathfinder and other board games and role-playing games that don't want to lock up creativity behind a paywall. Um, and D&D's never recovered from that. Larian Studios got the rights to Baldur's Gate 3 Game of the Year. It talked about it here. Why would you sack people in the company who helped make Game of the Year? Well, the thing is, they didn't make Game of the Year. Larian Studios did. And I think Hasbro's thing here is, I think what they're really looking at is, instead of paying people to make the games inside house, they'd rather just sell their licensing agreements, or their IPs, and have someone else make it like Larian Studios, and then they get all the free access, the credit, the advertisement from the game itself being produced, and the draw that it gives by bringing people into their current games. So I think Hasbro has decided finally that, and this is kind of the way they've been going, they don't want to make games, they just want to own the IPs while other people make and handle them. Which is probably fine. It's actually stupid. Okay, so it's fine and it's stupid. It depends on how you look at it. One, for Hasbro, it's fine because I'd really like them to stop trying to tell people how to make these games, because as we've seen with Magic and D&D and everything else, all they're doing is running it into the dirt, causing massive money losses and ruining the game because they're just a shit show of a company. However, the people loyal to the brand are still playing. They're just playing older versions, their own versions, and that's costing them money. So if they are smart enough to sell their IP and then just take kickbacks on their IP, they can still make money without the massive backlash they would receive, that they have received this year, from their shitty business practices. And we can only hope that that's what's going to happen moving forward. So that would be great for those people who love D&D and Magic like myself. However, for the company, money-wise, it would kind of be awful because they'll lose out on a lot of money. However, it's better to make some money than lose your company because you manage it so piss poorly that you run it into the dirt and ruin it. Because honestly, let's be real here. If they keep running their business the way they are, it's going to be bought out regardless, except it's going to be bought out by somebody else for way less of what it's worth than them selling it now or selling IPs now. So maybe they finally realize that they're fucking idiots and they shouldn't be in this market. Or at least they should let somebody who knows what the hell is going on do it instead of these idiots at the top like Cox and everybody else who are just fucking morons. But anyway, if you go and you look at this, you can see the Q3 major segment of what was made. Wizards of the Coast and Digital Gaming, 102 operating loss. Was in 222. It's 203 here. Adjusted operating profit. If there's anything like this is a loss, this is all loss. These are positives. If you see year to date here, you can see that it's also up. It's very high, but you can also see everything else is taking a bloodbath. Their entertainment, corporate, and others. They're not doing anything worth a damn. And again, this is going back to, massive production and things like that, of what they think is if we just make a whole bunch of stuff, we'll have a whole bunch of stuff to sell, everybody will buy it, and it'll be great. What they don't realize is everybody these days wants something that's not only built well, but is collectible to some extent. And for it to be collectible, it can't be everywhere, because if it's everywhere, that means the price is just going to keep going down because you can buy it anywhere, and when it sits on the shelf long enough, prices go down and people realize that. So what they do, much like Magic cards and the whole Amazon dumps that they were having, was people just didn't buy them on release until it bottomed out and they had no choice but to sell it below MAT for record losses, and then people bought in, and people have figured it out, and maybe Wizards has finally figured out that people are willing to wait to stick it to them for their absorbent overpricing and price gouging, and are willing to wait until they start taking losses to buy in, causing them to lose severe money. And if people are willing to do that with Magic cards, and maybe not to the extent, obviously, of where they lose money on Magic, but where they actually saw a setback in their financial gains going the wrong direction, um, with Magic being collectible, when it comes to things like board games, figurines, any other kind of entertainment, figures, whatever the case may be, D&D books, they've learned that more is not better, and people are willing to just wait until it's at the price that they want. That's called capitalism. That's also called market adjustment. So if I come out with something and I say it's worth $50, everybody thinks it's worth $25, so nobody buys it. Eventually it will be $25 because somebody somewhere will want it out of their inventory, and they'll mark it as low as they can to get it off their shelves. And if that means it gets to $25, people start buying it. Guess what? Now it's always at $25 because that's the only price people buy it at. Maybe it goes back up a little bit to $30 because people think it's worth something, or maybe come a little harder to get, but it will never really be $50. Not anytime now or in the future. And in the meantime, because of all that stuff sitting on shelves, that means the business itself isn't making money because no money's coming in on more orders. Because if you just got stuck with a product that's only worth really half of what it's worth, and it's sat on your shelves for months, are you really going to order more of that product? No, you're not, because once you get rid of what you got, you're happy it's gone and you don't want any more, which means all that stuff that's sitting in inventory inside warehouses waiting to be sold can't be sold. So, it says here, the dismissals at Wizards play into a disturbing trend across game development and related fields throughout 2023. Over 9,000 developers worldwide have been dismissed over the course of the year, as per independent tracking. And I think a lot of this has to do with the current video game market. People are starting to get tired of getting games that are not complete upon release. People want games like Baldur's Gate 3, where it's a one-time pay. They keep working on it. They make it better over time without you having to sink extra money. If there is no pay to win, there's no loot boxes, there's no cosmetics you have to pay to buy. They want a wholehearted game, and that's what Baldur's Gate 3 really was, and it was amazing. Did I buy it? Yes, I did. I bought it on principle to begin with. I played it for hundreds of hours. Now, granted, even with that, there were things about Baldur's Gate 3 I didn't like, but it was in storytelling, not in game design, how the game played, what the game offered. It was how I thought the story should go and how I thought certain things should have happened in the story, and that's good because that tells me the game was released right, it had everything it needed, it was playable all the way through, gave me a satisfied ending. But if I didn't like the ending because of storytelling, that's an opinion perspective. And that's okay. That's where we should be at inside a game. So, with all this said, that's what I think. Do I think this is going to impact Wizards even more than it already has? I don't know. I think it's kind of moving forward. We'll have to wait and see how it impacts Magic. If they actually do take the route of reduction in print runs and so forth, I think they'll be okay in the long term. But I think the immediate shock that their golden goose is starting to poop on them because they don't understand the player base and what customers really want, I think it's really starting to bite them in the butt, because what they've done, just like with D&D, is the way they've ran Magic, is they've ran those customers into other games where they aren't coming back, like Flesh and Blood, maybe some in MetaZoo. MetaZoo's got its own problems. Sorcery's real big right now. People are running towards sorcery like it's, I don't know, like it's a rave. It's insane. Along with lots of other things. There's Grand Archive, which is coming up. There's lots of other stuff and other games out there that are picking up. Weiss Schwarz is picking up. One Piece is flying off the shelves like crazy. Lorcana. And I think what they're realizing is they may still be the big boy on the block, but they keep running around trying to Debo people. People are just going to move off the block to where Debo's not. And then Debo's got nobody to steal from and get money from. So then how's Debo make a living, right? So there you have it, guys. That's what I think. Thanks a lot for watching. I do appreciate it. I'm glad to be back on here. Stay tuned. We'll go over some more stuff later. I'll get some videos up. So until next time, be kind. And as always, I hope to see you across from the game table.